The month of August is annually celebrated as Women in Translation Month to celebrate the women writing in languages other than English and whose works are translated into English in only small numbers. In this month, readers come together to promote and read books by women in translation. This month, we take the opportunity to have a conversation at Navigating India with a woman writer, translator, publisher, and also a full time software engineer, Purnima Tammireddy. For over 18 years, Purnima is contributing to Telugu literature through short stories, book reviews, translations, etc. She have translated Manto, Amrita Preetham, Gulzar from Hindustani to Telugu. She translated Abdul Rashid K.V. Tirumalesh from Kannada to Telugu, and most recently, On the Banks of Pampa by Volga from Telugu to English. In this episode, we speak to her about her life trajectory, life lessons, and the complete translator ecosystem in India, which she has been part of for the last 2 decades. Purnima, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rishwant, and thank you, Navigating India, for having me here.
Purnima, we are recording this episode in the month of August, which is Women in Translation Month. And at the same time, few months ago, we have seen Heartland winning the International Booker Prize. Both the author as well as the translator is a woman. So, what are your initial responses on this?
Oh, yeah, it is quite thrilling and joyful experience for all of us. Heartland going all the way to Booker and then winning. Personally, for me, it is double joy. Yes, I'll come to that reason. But first, a disclaimer: I haven't read Heartland yet, and I was actually someone recommended me Hasina Mattu Itara Kadagalu, which is the collection from which Heart Lamp was picked up. So I have got the copies, but I haven't read yet. And second disclaimer is that I am a short story writer. I love short stories in any form. And anytime, anywhere in the world, if short stories get attention and there is a scope and chance to celebrate it, I'm super thrilled because usually in literature also there is a kind of hierarchy. Novels are the most celebrated. Short stories are usually seen as an apprentice part. Like you write short stories to get better at the craft so that you will take a bigger canvas. You write novel and then you arrive as a writer. But when short stories win these big prizes, especially with Heartland, it is the first short story collection that has won the International Booker Prize. Yeah, that's a double joy. And yes, both of them, Banu with her long activist come writer journey, and Deepa with her journalism and translation journey, both of them being there at the big stage and talking about Kannada, which is now my second home and second language. I'm super proud.
So you said you have got Heartland, both the Kannada book from which the stories were selected as well as the English edition, right? So you
Yes.
yourself is both an author and a translator, right? So is it in the beginning of your career, do you actually read the text both in the translation as well as original to see the kind of framework they have used?
Yes, so especially for someone like me who doesn't have any formal training, so I'm a software engineer, out and out techie. So if you ask me about the programming languages, I can endlessly talk. But yeah, maybe we'll go into a bit later about my journey with languages and those. Uh, but for now, what I would like to say is that yes, when I became curious about translations and I had this original and the translated text go by line and see what has the translator done or left out. And yeah, at that time I was like much younger, maybe like 28 30 years, that kind of age. uh, at that time you are all, oh, if only I was translating this, I could have used a better word, better phrase, all of those what the arrogance that comes out of youth, so that kind of things I used to think. But then, I mean, as you progress with translations, as you understand and as you begin to translate, you will get this sense that it is never about few words or phrases or sentences. It is about a million micro decisions that you have to take, and just hope and pray that out of this million micro decisions, some sense of or some unity of decisions is emerging. So yeah, I do that as a practice, and also I use that as learning language. Like if I'm learning Kannada now, yes, friends help to an extent in terms of clarifying my doubts or sitting next to me and reading some parts of the story. But they can't. I mean, nobody is so have the luxury of such leisure to spend on literature, right? We all have busy lives. At that time, yeah, I pick the translation, and then I read the Kannada, and wherever I'm stuck, I go to the English version and see what the author is trying to say. Yeah, that helps in language learning a big deal. Yeah.
Take us through where did it all begin, right? Take us to your childhood. What are your early readings? How did you get interested in literature? Because the reason being, you are a full-time employee as a software engineer, and you're
Yes.
pursuing your profession as a writer, translator, and a publisher, right? So where did it all begin? Why did you attempt, like, why did you put so much into you to be in this process? So what motivated you from your childhood?
Okay, so my childhood, not just my childhood, my formative years till my 23 years of age, I did not have access to books. I did not read any literature. So it so happened that whatever little I read is either textbooks or newspapers. That's it. And I'm a huge cricket fan. So I read anything and everything about cricket and about cricketers. So apart from these readings, and maybe a book on Vivekananda, or some random books, like one or two books I haven't read. In college also, well, like during my engineering college also, there was this very little library, very small one, just like maybe even 4 by 4 feet kind of small shop near a bus stop where we used to take the bus to college. And there I some of my friends, my college friends, helped me pick up Eric Siegel love story, Jonathan Livingston Seagull also I read because it was Harsha Bogle's favorite book. In one of his interviews, he has mentioned that it is his favorite book. So then I read that. So yeah, till 23 years of age, I did not know anything about literature, anything about books. But yeah, totally uninitiated into reading or this thing. So then, by then I have joined soon after my engineering. I've joined in a IT company. It was a 3Com network security based company, and there I had a wonderful manager who was like, because I'm a fresher, he was like training, mentoring, all of those things. And I was a very high energy kid. Even now, I'm a very high energy person. So what happened? I was bugging my manager for more work. I want to learn more things. I want to pick up more stuff, more responsibilities. He encouraged me to a certain extent, and after that, he made me sit down and help me understand that in IT, unlike in other kind of jobs, things are very uncertain. Products can come to end of life, license can get cancelled, jobs can be lost in a matter of day, firings are a regular thing, and this was all around the 2008 recession time, and things were already very uncertain at that point of time. And then what he said is, like, this weekend, I don't know what you do. When you come back on Monday, you have to tell me what hobby you have chosen. Is what he said. uh, and the timing was such that around that time I was gifted a laptop from the company for being the best employee and things like that. So I took the laptop home, and the first thing I Google set up the laptop. In those days, setting up the laptop itself used to take so much time. You install Windows, this, that, everything. So there I the first thing I opened my browser and Googled is how to type in Telugu, because by then I was getting this sense that, as I said, I used to read at least these newspapers both in English and Telugu till my 10th class at least. After that, there was this mad rush of coaching classes, this, that. You can't waste even one minute here and there. You have to like crack these exams, get these ranks, get the best seats. All of that pressure was there, no? So somewhere down the line, I've stopped completely reading anything other than my textbooks. So then I was not even I was in a stage where I was not even able to recognize some Telugu alphabets. Like I was knowing I know this, but it was not coming to me. I think that was what prompted me to like type how to type in Telugu. And luckily, back then in 2007, there was another techie called Chava Kiran who actually developed Unicode software for Telugu typing, and he started a blog, and he made others like, get aware that you can write blogs in Telugu, and this is the software you can use, and all of that. We used to call him Adi blogger, like Adi Kavi Nannaya, the first Kavi. So like that, we used to call him Adi blogger, and then he went on to do some cool stuff like Kinige, which is one of its kind ebook platform, which ran for a significant period, like close to 5 6 years. Okay, so then I searched this, I landed on this. It was very like he has written like a proper software engineer who knows how to communicate. He has written this very clear steps on how to install the software, how to start typing, how to create blog. So I created my blog and I wrote a post. Okay, and then I went back on Monday. I told my manager. So the twist is my manager is a Tamilian. He said, "Okay, I can't read what you wrote, but it doesn't matter for me as long as every weekend I should see a new entry in this. That much I can figure out." So he said that. Then I kept at it. I started like I was trying to bring the language back to me, which I lost. So then what interesting thing happened is, like Chava Kiran, there were few other techies working on this area. So one of them, I think Viven was the one. He has created one online tool for typing Telugu where you need not install any software on your thing. And also, what he did was to create a blog aggregator. So anyone who is writing Telugu, the aggregator picks the content. It is like an RSS model. Like so it just the subscription model, and it just shows up. So except me and my manager, nobody on the in the world know that this a blog exists. But I started getting comments, and I was like very surprised. Where are these people coming? So somewhere very encouraging about the effort, and someone is writing Volga, but somewhere not so nice. They said either you learn Telugu, where you are doing some very basic mistakes, and grammar is all over the place. You either learn Telugu or shut your shop. Is some of the kind. But overall, the community was very kind and understanding, and they were. I mean, I can give you a very basic example. Like illu is house in home, and illu is houses. That is the plural form. The la and ala. I used to write illulu instead of illu. So my my Telugu was at that standard. Then these people were all kind enough to make such corrections, tell me. And then I was reading uh, some of the literature. I picked up this Anita Desai's and all this Ruskin Bonds, yeah, Kenarines and all, and I was not really finding home there. um, then luckily I encountered blogs of Jay Arjun Singh and Chandrahas Chowdhury. The middle stage is the Chandrahas blog, and Jay Arjun Singh was called Jabberwock. So these two were my book recommendation engines. Even before Goodreads, Amazon, any of these came into picture. I'm talking about 2008, which now looks like ancient period. But yeah, we we lived back then, and we did some cool stuff. So these two gentlemen used to put out some amazing recommendations, book reviews, and they are actually my like distant gurus or online gurus in terms of what to pick. So the Calvinos, Kafka, Saramagos, and everybody I've read, especially all the European fiction I have read, it has come from these people. So I was able to find the kind of literature I like in English translation. Back then, I did not even realize the importance of translation or anything. I was like, Calvino has written this for me, kind of feeling. Again, that kind of arrogance and not even noting who has translated, when this translation came out. No, I did not have any idea of those things. But in Telugu, I was struggling, like to find what should I read. Yeah, one thing is, in my school competition, some essay competition happened, and I won the prize. And they gave me Sri Sri's Mahaprasthanam. And I, at that time, I read. Wow. So that I read, and I had an amazing Telugu teacher, Indra Garu, Indra teacher. She was the one who actually gave me an understanding of how beautiful Telugu is as a language. So she gave me that initiative, but it was all lost. And also, again, I said no, this was in late 1990s, where this IITG and this madness was at its peak, and even language classes used to get cancelled, and all of those classes were given to maths and science teachers so that we will crack. The only reason they made us write those exams or even sit for those exams is because if we don't given that exam, we won't get the certificate and we can't move, no. So that was the kind of madness. Coming back to now, where I'm struggling to find Telugu things, I just went to this Visalandra bookstore. I just went, I think it was in Koti at that time. I just went in, and I randomly picked up. The staff wasn't so helpful, so I randomly picked up some stuff, whatever that I came back home. I started reading, and none of them worked out for me. So then I have put up a blog saying that this is the problem I'm struggling with. People, please recommend so that I will know what to read, and also these are my interest areas, etc., etc. So then again, the community was very kind. They gave me suggestions, and that is when I started writing book reviews. uh, Whatever I read, I used to respond to that. And again, the whole attempt was that I like at least write 3-4 paragraphs of Telugu every week. That was the whole intention, and that remains my intention even today. Okay, that I have to spend time with the language. So then what happened, we were writing, some other people were also writing about books, but people deactivate their blogs, right? They go, I mean, they lose interest or some controversy happens, whatever, people deactivate. When they deactivate, all the book post everything they have written would also go. It would vanish. So then I came up with this idea that why can't we have a website where all of us will put our book reviews over there, and and then even if some person wants to leave this space for whatever reasons, their work will remain. They may not be there, their work will remain. I wrote this as like, just like, if we get an idea, we throw it away, So somebody do it. Yeah, with that kind of attitude, I have put that post, but nobody came forward. And some good people came and said that all these are like too much work and too much effort. Don't even get into that. Just write your blog and shut your mouth, kind of advice also was given. But then another fellow blogger, Saumya, VB Saumya, she was very excited about this. And then we went around asking people to start the blog, and that we will run it for them, start this website and we will run it for them, and etc., etc. But eventually we started and we ran, and that is how pustakam.net started. And again, the motive and intention over there was to um, have Telugus write in Telugu. You read book of any language, any culture, any from where, any place in the world, but you express your thoughts and opinions, and it need not be like technically a review kind of thing. You need not be a critic. It's just your book responses should be in Telugu. So, and it can be in a mixed Telugu, like mixed English and Telugu English kind of thing. So that is what we have started with. And this was on 2009 Jan 1st is when we started that website. And and Soumya and I planned that, okay, you write one piece a month, I write one piece a month, that will be two pieces, that should be enough. That is how we are gonna keep this going. But in the very first month, we got some 28 pieces from the community. And from that, we went on, and then Soumya and me went on to interview some important people in literature, some amazing work they are doing. We have done these things, and that website is still running. I have come out of that because of other reasons, only 2 3 years, 3 4 years back, but the website is still running. So that is how it is. I mean, this thread and while I was also writing in blog, I tried poetry a bit here and but it was not working for me. And also, people made me very conscious about my vocabulary, my grammar, everything. So poetry, that fear is still with me, and even today I don't touch poetry. I read poetry like crazy, but I don't write it. Uh, but I found that I'm really, really inclined into fiction. So I started. Writing some short stories or imagine the scenes, building up characters, and all of that happened. And I was putting up only on my blog. But then again, the community was kind enough saying that, okay, we see promise in you. You are writing well, you are bringing that consistency. So why not write a short story for our magazine? Kind of thing came up. Then the very first story I ever published was titled O Kada Chachipoindi, which means a story was found dead. And that got published. I mean, initially one or two editors were little unkind, saying that, oh, this sounds like a dubbing movie dialogue, dubbing movie kind of Telugu, they said. But some other editor was kind enough to sit with me and help me refine it, fine tune it. And that is 2010 was when my first story came out. So so that is how my short story journey and my book reviews, these things were going on. So then I was like, okay, thanks to Indra teacher, I had a minimal understanding of Telugu. But with that Telugu, now I'm able to read proper literature, like the who's of Telugu literature I'm reading. At least those are in vachanam. Vachanam is prose. Poetry is anyways difficult. uh, so I thought, if this is the case, then why can't I read Hindi? Hindi also I have working knowledge thanks to my school teachers. So why not I go back and try it, and we will see whether it works or not. And Gulzar Saab, it was his birthday only yesterday. Gulzar Saab is my all-time favorite. So I love his poetry, lyricism, lyrics. Of course, it is part of our life, but poetry. And then I find him a very sensible filmmaker. The films he directed, written and directed, are still some of my favorite movies are from him. So then I came to know that he has written a short story collection. So that short story collection I ordered, and this was all before that Amazon, Flipkart. So finding books and getting them was much hassle. But I got it. I started reading it, and then I thought, I was struggling because the colloquial Hindi that we know, what we speak or what we even watch and hear in Bollywood, that and the literary text is, there is a lot of distance, no. So what I was doing, okay, for this word this meaning, that word that meaning, I was underlying, noting. Then I thought, okay, let me just have this text and write it in Telugu, and that way I can like know more deeply what is happening here, because I was otherwise getting lost in the words and their meanings, and I'm not getting the sense that he is trying to bring in the story. uh, okay, so it's like you are so obsessed with the bricks that you are not able to see the wall. Okay. So then I sat down, I started translating, and that is my first attempt at translation. I sent it to one friend, saying that who is good at both Hindi and Telugu, saying that these are the words I am stuck with. This is not working out for me. Can you please help? And that person was pleasantly surprised that I was actually. I mean, this whole exercise was just to understand the story, but he found that it was actually well translated, except for few phrases and words here and there. So he said, "Okay, I'll help you, but with the promise that this has to go to a magazine. It needs to be published." So the first story I did was Gulzar's Cough. So Cough got published as Bhayam, and it got good response. People were happy, and after that, 3 or 4 stories of Gulzar I continued to do month on month. Every time their new edition comes, I used to send one translation. Then I got the news that Mrunalini Garu, who is a very eminent Telugu writer critic, she translated, and the book has come out in that book fair in that year. So then I was like, okay, somebody else translated, so why why bother now? Then I left Gulzar. This was all in 2011 or so, and then I never bothered about translation again. I just left it there. Um, but in 2012, Manto entered in my life. Like I was exploring, I started with Gulzar, and then I was exploring more and more writers in Hindi literature in that domain. And I encountered Manto because 2012 was his centenary anniversary, and there's quite attention given to his work. Till then, I mean, I know the Premchands and all, the Eidgahs and these things, but Manto was an unfamiliar name. So 2012, there was his birth centenary anniversary in Hyderabad. A theatre company made a play out of his microfiction called Siya Hashiye, which is about the violence that happened during the partition on the streets in an unnamed city. So they had 3 characters, and each character reads aloud the entire text of that story, but also make it is somewhere in between play and dramatic reading. Okay, the setting is done, uh, but the entire text is read out to us. Okay, and this was in Lamakan, which is an open space theater come art and cultural space. So the background is like all rocks, these big rocks that only Hyderabad can boast about. We were sitting under a tree. These guys were on a slightly elevated platform, and they were reading out all of this. That had a great impact on me. Though I was missing out on the words, I was not able to catch some of the phrases, and I was also taking help from my neighbors. But in a play, you can do only as much. While the play is on, you can only get uh, decent understanding. So then, after the play ended, I went back home. I searched for Manto, and I got Khalid Hussein's translation, Manto translation. That book took its own sweet time to arrive, but it arrived. And once I opened and started reading, I was utterly disappointed. So, because Khalid apparently thinks Manto knows only so much and he knows better, and so therefore he can edit the main text and smoothen it for the reader and whatever. But because I heard Manto's prose, right, it was ringing in my ears, because this women, one lady and 2 men were playing, and they were so vociferous, they were so loud and clear, and that pain was so much there in their acting, that when I read this Fikasa translation, it did not work out for me. Okay, there is this Raj Kamal Prakashan in Delhi. They have put all of Manto's work in Devanagari. So then I ordered Raj Kamal Prakashan, like after 5-10 calls, follow-ups, and everything. They finally sent me. At this point of time, nobody even had websites for their e-commerce platforms, or these bookstores having websites was also not a thing. So they all they sent me um, the books in BPP, that some posted cash on delivery in Indian postal system. Okay, so that kind of thing they have done and sent it. And but one good thing about that Raj Kamal Prakashan editing is, I mean edition is, all the difficult Urdu words they have at the end of every story they have given the meanings, and there was an elaborate introduction on why Manto, who Manto was, why should we read, or and why have they selected certain stories and left out the others, how they have organized. Oh my god, it was like complete picture of Manto you could get out of it. So I started reading Manto, and I was like completely hooked into that person, and his writings and his world. Then I was I started because anyways I run a book review website. Anybody at that point of time, anybody I come across now, I used to have only two questions: what are you reading, and why are you not sending it about it to pustakam.net? So I used to like harass people to send book reviews. And then I started talking about Manto, telling in my circles that he is a great Urdu writer, and he I mean, my personal feeling, people may disagree, but I feel Manto has really cracked the short story format. How to write short stories for a person who has read only Russian literature and had many minimal global literature access. He has really cracked that, and he writes with so much heart is what I felt. So I was going around and asking people, so if you know Urdu, then you should consider translating Manto. He's amazing. He's someone we need in Telugu. We need. So by then, Manto books were here and there, but not really a substantial work that gives an idea to Telugu reader or how on who Manto is. So I kept asking, nobody bothered. Then I also forgot. And then few people were like, why don't you translate? I was like, no, Urdu is too much for me, and I don't think I can touch someone like Manto. That would be like papam. I don't want to do that papam. And then things went by, and life happened, and so many other things was happening in life. Then I came to know about Nandita's movie on Manto, Nandita Das's movie on Manto. I was following her already on Facebook, and she, from the very beginning, was documenting its journey from the very ideation point, from that point. And I was like silently watching and hearting or liking those posts, but doing nothing much. Um, then there was one play here in Bangalore, Ata Gallata Kormangla, by Ashwath Bhatt. He has done one play, a monologue kind of play. Okay, and the play was like an hour and a half. Play ended, and we were all about to go. Usually, at that point of time, these theater folks come and say, "Okay, we have one more show. Spread a word about okay, tell your friends and all of this." But this man here instead was telling, "Manto is very important. You should all read. Yeah, in English translation, these are the good translations. In Hindi, if you can read only Hindi, you should consider getting those 5 volumes. If you can read Urdu, there is so much." So he was giving all these things. At that point, if someone walked up to him and said, "Oh, I don't have money to buy these books," he might have taken it from his pocket and given, like, "Go buy this." Then that made me think that if I understand Manto's importance, I see that there are people other around me that are saying Manto is this important, and these people who are actually making movies and plays have to have so many resources to do that, right? Like they have to have people, team, funding, production, this, that, and finally theaters or venues to actually play that, all of that. So then I said, okay, at least as a translator, I don't need any of this. I can sit in front of my laptop every day for half an hour and do it. At least it is not as resource intensive. And if at all I'm doing very badly Manto's translations, that is still okay because instead of complete absence, something is better. Then I said, okay, I won't wait for anybody. I will only do Manto's translation. And then I did the first piece, very short piece of his, why I write stories is the title. Um, so I wrote that, and one of my friend, very close friend, who was also editor at Andhra Jyoti, was kind enough to put it in that leading magazine, not magazine, it's a newspaper. So in the literary edition, this came out, and to my surprise and shock, people have received it really well. They thought that I bought a very interesting mix of Telugu and the Urdu words that are already part of Telugu. I was bringing that on for it, and it read like a charm, they said. So then I was like, okay, then I'll try one more. So like that, I started doing some of his essays and stories, and then I was publishing them here and there. So all of this was going good till a publisher came to me and said, we would like to bring out a volume of Manto in your translation. So you do it, and we will give you uh, full freedom in terms of how much, what stories you want to pick, how you want to put it. Like, you do decide. Our only restriction is that it can't be more than 250 pages, otherwise it becomes difficult to sell and things like that. So I very, yeah, studiously, dedicatedly, all of 2019 and 2020, I worked on this project where I've read not just a Manto, but about Manto. And then I started putting it in a certain fashion. And I've sent it to the publishers also, the manuscript. But they had certain other expectations of Manto, in the sense that show him as a sensationalist, so, show him as this controversial figure, show him as this rebel thing. But I understood Manto very differently. And on top of that, I have a very personal story on why partition or why communal violence, even the Gulzar story. This again, thanks to a friend who pointed out this to me, saying that Gulzar or Manto and these people, I was able to pick them up and put so much of my heart into their work, is because I have one tragic incident in my childhood. So that is in 1990 and thereabouts, 2 3 years before and after, Hyderabad was very politically unstable, and also the law and order has gone for a toss. And especially in 1990, it was the year 1990. It was very, very difficult phase for Hyderabad, especially for some areas. So we used to live. It is a landmark. The Sarojini Devi Eye Hospital is a landmark in Hyderabad. It is closest to the Charminar, and so that area we used to live. Uh, the situation in the city was so bad, actually postal services were dismissed, in the sense that no post was arriving to our homes. So only any emergency news was read in All India Radio. The after news bulletin, there was another special section for any emergency telegrams or these kind of news. But the regular life was completely disrupted. So in this phase, uh, in my neighborhood, in the street, in the lane opposite to our house, there were riots, in the sense that somebody came in and killed people, looted them, mutilated them, all of that. And that night is and was the scariest and still remains the scariest for me. So it was so bad that I was like 7 years, and in the neighborhood there were many more bachas like me. So all of us were put in the TV boxes, empty TV boxes or mixer grinder boxes. So we were put in that and put on the attic, so that even if those people, the writers, come to our home, they won't be able to touch the kids. My sister was only 3 months old at that time. She was put in a rice tin. We in South India we have this 25 kgs rice dabbas. So she was put in there with all the clothes stuffed in her mouth, so that even if she cries, um, it won't get any attention from the outsiders. And then all the men were guarding the gates and the outer areas. All the women were like ready with the chili powder water and all of that. And for like till it was dawn, till it was 5 6 in the morning, we spent the most horrendous night possible. And those people have created all the ruckus they had to create in just about 30 40 minutes. And but the aftermath was so scary, I can't tell. Then the next morning, actually, my parents decided, not just my parents, some other neighbors and everybody decided that we leave Hyderabad for good. We just packed the bare minimums, and we left in the sense, like my father in that train. I remember him saying that, uh, you may not go back to that school, which is okay. We will find you another school. You may not go back to those friends, which is okay. You'll find. So all of this talk was happening, and we went, and there was another personal tragedy waiting for that, but that we can leave out now. So this communal violence, why people kill each other, what is the motive, and how can you kill a person that you have known all along? So these were the questions that really bothered me. But I think they were in a dormant stage because this happened when I was too young. And then when we after a month or so, we returned back to Hyderabad, and we continued our lives. But as I said, it was a very Hyderabad of those years, at least towards the old city, was a very sensitive region. There used to be a saying also, if it rains in Delhi, Hyderabad catches cold. It was a saying which means that any here and there, any political thing happening in Delhi, Hyderabad becomes the most sensitive area where anything can happen anytime. Even there were like three or four instances when police have dropped me at my home from school. Like we go to school as if a regular day, and suddenly this announcement comes that now it is curfew. You just have to 1 hour, 2 hours to go back homes, and after that it will be shoot and cite orders and things like that. So it was mad. So all of this, I think maybe my rational mind forgot it, because after that things got better, and it was regular safe neighborhood and all of that. But probably my body remembered it, and that is why I think the reason I found Gulzar's cough, which is also about communal violence. Manto, who I think he may be controversial, he may be the greatest, but he is the victim of partition. He have been alive, and his death may be for other reasons, but the whole communal violence and partition that happened, no, it has broken him into pieces, is my understanding. So when these guys, these publishers were approaching me to put Manto in a different box, in a different way, I was feeling utter discomfort. Then I said, okay, anyways, these 20 stories aside, we will the volume that I created for them. I said, this aside, now that I know this is what is my calling, this is why I have picked up Manto, then I will do a book or showing that how this whole communal violence thing was bothering Manto from 1937. So for the uninitiated, Manto was born around 1912. He died in 1952. He had only a limited, very short span of 42 years, and he has seen partition. Before partition, he was primarily in Bombay, though he had moved around Delhi and other cities. He was working in films. He had a decently good life, good friend circle, very good friend circle, and he was like making his mark in movies plus literature. But at that time, because of all of this chaos that was happening, he thought moving to Pakistan would be better for him and his family. He moves to Karachi, and then from there to Lahore, and then financially get crushed because Pakistan is this upcoming new country with no not everything is in flux, and he was not able to find a solid ground there. And then because of his alcoholism and other mental health issues that he always had throughout his life, he dies prematurely with liver issues. So this is his lifespan and life story in a nutshell. So what I tried to bring in is to give this sense of Manto, like his initial first piece that I found where he responds to communal violence is in 1937, where he's just an upcoming writer, and from that point um till 4950, till his time of death, how did he view communal violence and how it impacted with him, and how he wrote that Siya Hashiye, the microfiction that I was talking about. I put all of this together, wrote a longish 20-page introduction note, and also brought in some uh, when Manto put out this Siya Hashiye, the partition violence related stories, the critics at that time were like, oh, this guy is like collecting money from pockets of corpses, like whoever are dead people, he's going and pickpocketing them. Is the kind of harsh criticism that he received, and that somewhere has hurt me also. Then I went on and I included those people's works also in my book, and said that okay, from literary point of view also, how Manto's work is important, how this criticism is not valid. And I've all done all of this elaborate work. And because one other Telugu publisher approached me saying that we are trying to bring this 100-page books, small series from 5 or 6 languages, because you are anyways working on Manto. Why don't you give a small book? Then I thought, okay, thematically this will work, and I have prepared it. But the terms and conditions they have put out the book did not work for me. So then I have left it there. And I thought, okay, now it is 2 books, no, 1 volume, 20 books I have anyways kept aside. Now this is the second volume that I have worked, and looks like this will
20
also not get a
stories.
publisher.
So you have already translated 20 stories of Manto and then non-fiction essays of Manto also.
Yeah, non-fiction, non-fiction and fiction, but related only to partition and lesser known pieces, but almost autobiographical pieces. So I was piecing them together in a way that you will get a sense of what Manto was going through all of this. So then this was second book. Now I did not have the heart to put it aside. I was trying to publish in some of the magazines and all, and people were getting back to me, okay, Manto is a controversial figure, or there is too much violence in the story, so we won't be able to carry. And one other issue I faced also with magazines is that in magazine we'll just put the story, right, or we'll give a brief about that author. But since most of us are so distant from what happened at partition, at least some of us, uh, the readers were finding it difficult to grasp what Manto was trying, and his writings were seen, I mean, at least I got 2 or 3 comments saying, oh, this is over dramatic, who would do this, this writer is trying to be like going out of place, and things like that. So so then I thought, okay, Manto will work only in book. And at that time, I had the good fortune to meet Arshia Sattar, Dr. Arshia Sattar here in Bangalore. She's like an eminent translator, and she does amazing work. So I approached her and said, "This is the situation with the Manto. So what I'm going to do is I'll start up a website again, because websites are what I can do very easily. So I'll start something called mantointelugu.com, and I'll put all of my work there. And anyways, he's copyright free, so nobody will object. And I'm happy if someone like comes and reads. So that is my plan with, because now I'm getting rejections from all over. Then she said, no, Manto is too important a writer to limit him to internet, especially in an Indian language. So you have to find ways and means to bring him to print. So think, is what she said. So then I thought, okay, I'll do self-publishing. Okay, I'll just publish in my name, and whatever the risk will happen, it will happen in my name. So I was doing this. Then I was actually applying for, as a self-publisher also, you can apply for ISP and get it and things like that. When I was in this process, another friend, a young friend, he approached me saying that he would like to do Pinjar, but wanted to collaborate with me. Amrita Preetham's Pinjar novel. I was totally interested, because again, it is partition related, and it tells the other side of story which Manto doesn't touch upon. So I said, oh, I would love to collaborate. So then we tried to reach out to Imrose, uh, Amrita Preetham's partner, and we assumed he would have the rights and reach, but he was at a very critically ill stage at that point of time, and we could not get any response. And then we reached out to Penguin, who had put out Pinjar through their Hind Pocket Books imprint. So Penguin was very happy, but they said, we won't give rights to individuals. You have to involve a publisher. So then I was like, if only I had publisher. I wouldn't approach you, right? I'm already struggling with publisher. Then I said, no, 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 I'll take good care of like self-publishing. I'll bring in the quality. You don't have to worry. And they were like, no, our contracts can't go to individuals. So that is when I said, okay. And then anyways, if this is the case, and it would be like Manto was copyright free because he passed away very early, and 60 years lapsed, and that is why he's in public domain. But most other important writers that I want to do have their rights with them or their heirs, right? So then I've decided with another couple of friends to do LME publications, and that is how I became for solely and solely for translation to putting out translations. I've become a publisher. So yeah, then we did whatever the Manto Siya Hashiye book that I have said, that has come out. That is our first publication from LME. Then my short stories came out, and then Pinjar came out, and then yeah, we are doing some work on that. But yeah, this whole thing for me, I know you have asked one question, and I went on and on for that. So it is not like my story is not the regular story like, oh, my grandparents were reading, my parents were reading, and from there I picked up. It is not like that. It is like in Telugu we say, no, inta vanta leni pandu. So neither seven generations on my father side or mother side, none of them are into reading or any of these things. And for me, how did I end up here, and why am I doing work, and and surprisingly, so the image that I have in mind is when I am writing or when I'm translating is this. Kids playing in the gully, okay, outside our houses kids play, no. So it is like that, and I say that because they are not just playing, they are also being very conscious of which vehicle is coming, which pedestrian is coming, and accordingly they will adjust their game, accordingly they'll pause and again do. So it is not like a full-fledged way of enjoying the game, right? It is like so many interruptions, so many concerns. Then they have to like, they want to hit it really hard, but they are worried about the windows of the neighborhood, so they will curb their instinct. So for me also, all of this journey is something like gully cricket only. I'm doing in bits and pieces. I'm doing here and there. I have to ensure that my office work in no way is getting impacted by this. I have to like do a lot of jugaads to keep this going, but I find the pleasure. Like just gully cricket gives you that kick, no? This all of this gives me that kick. But what surprises me is the work I'm putting out is actually at par with someone who is more or less doing it. I mean, nobody is doing writing and translating for full time. Our conditions are not conducive to earn a livelihood out of it. Uh, but yeah, it does surprise me because even today, for me, the most joyous part of this entire thing is getting to spend time with Telugu for at least 3-4 hours per week.
So the Mantos still has to come out from LME. The Mantos.
Yes. So what happened in this frustration and in this whole confusion about publishers, I didn't know, however, how to vent it out or what to do about it. I kept on translating Manto. So now I have close to 400 more pages that needs to come out. It is all done. Only the final editing part, typesetting and bringing out it as book, that work is pending. So apart from the Siya Hashiye that I have put out 25 stories out of the all the work that I have done. 25 short stories were selected by Storytel, and they are available in audio format. So 25 stories of that. Um, and yeah, one other something that gives me immense joy is there's this theater group called B Studio in Hyderabad who do Telugu plays, and they have picked a couple of stories of Manto in my translation and have put out plays. It's called Parai, and they kind of take Manto stories and the current polarization polarized word and try to sync it up and put it up. I think it went on to have few shows now. Um, so yeah, I mean, my journey with Manto started with a play, Siya Hashiya, that happened in Lama Khan by Sutradhar Theatres, and from there to have Manto for the first time ever in Telugu, because Manto is played in Hyderabad many a times, but in only in Hindustani. So the first time in my translation, he reached Telugu audience through plays as well. Yeah, so
That is extraordinary, Purnima. I think Manto is someone everybody should read, right? We know some familiar stories of Manto, like Toba Tek Singh, Koldo, Tanda Ghosh, some of his most famous as well as controversial stories. But what's fascinating is that you are bringing almost 600 pages of Manto's fiction and non-fiction together in Telugu language. And I hope more people will now become familiar with Manto's story. Purnima, I want to take your reflections on another issue, which is within the Telugu language, we have something called Grandhika Bhasha and we have something called Vyavaharika Bhasha. So, Grandhika Bhasha is something only for the literary sphere, and authors write their works in Grandhika Bhasha. And Vyavaharika Bhasha is something, a common form language, right? It's almost a bazaar language, right? So, which the people use in daily conversation. But nowadays, Vyavaharika Bhasha has also become a common form language in which Telugu literature is being written. Any reflections on this? Any issues that you have faced in this Grandhika Bhasha versus Vyavaharika Bhasha debate?
see, first of all, I even till date I heard to date I can't read Grandhika. Okay, the only Grandhikam is like the classical poetry in form of Chandasu. It is metered poems. Um, and it is like dense poetry and somewhat sanskritized were heavily used, and those things. So even today I struggle. I've read only two or three books on in that front, and all of them are from Srinada Mahakavi. He is like end of 14th century, early 15th century poet, and he is one of my absolute favorites. But I have read those books only thanks to other senior literary friends who had good grip on the Grandhikam, and like we actually did WhatsApp calls and read the text together, and that is how. And Grandhikam again. If there is pratipadarthalu, which means for every word a meaning is given, and a summary is given. When if there is any text like that, I can read. But otherwise, the that kind of Telugu doesn't even have punctuations. It flows in a different way from our regular prose. Like the prose we write today, include and the usage of punctuations like commas, exclamation marks, all of this is the English influence. So how to even break there would be many compounded words in Grandhikam, which even to break you have to have a sense of what are the words to begin with and where to break. So I still struggle, and most of my generation folks struggle. At least I put the effort to read three or four books with help or with a help, but otherwise it's difficult. And my most favorite Telugu book is Kala Purnodayam. It's by Pingali Surana, and I have read it in English, and there is no way I can read it in Telugu. Yeah, that's an unfortunate state, but at least the text is there. And there are many prose versions of that text where they summarize the story, or they put the story in prose format. But to actually read Surana's poetry would be something, and I'm nowhere there. So I had to do with Vechur Narayan Rao's translation of that book called The Sound of a Kiss. So that is that. And when I said I struggle with Telugu, written Telugu, is because my Telugu was so basic. And also, though I'm from a family that has migrated from coastal Andhra to Hyderabad, as I said, I was like in the closer to the older city, and that is why Urdu was more in my ears to some extent. And though I was the 80s 90s kid, my father never took the cable connection, so I don't know about anything about these cable programs, ZTV, this, that, nothing was there. My constant companion was Vivid Bharati. And in Vivid Bharati, it is a nationalized channel where most Hindi, Urdu programs used to come. I mean, basically Hindustani programs used to come. So my spoken English, my spoken Telugu was bad because it was with Hyderabad. As a reference, if any of your listeners know, it was like in the Anand Shekhar Kamula's Anand movie. There is one particular Hyderabad slang he brings in for characters. My Telugu used to be like that. It has changed significantly now. Uh, but in Telugu, there is um, this emphasis that how you speak is how you should write. So there are some languages, I think, like Tamil and Urdu, where there is a distinct difference between what you speak on the street, what is the street language, and what is written in formal, written in books or newspapers or TV channels. That language is different. There is a distinction, but in Telugu there is never that distinction, because we had one in the early 20th century. We had this movement called we should move away from all of this Sanskritized influenced poetry kind of literature and bring the colloquialness, the Vyavaharika Bhashodhyamam, what we say, no, that how we speak is how we should write. So reflections on this is tricky. In some way, it is good. So no, in one way, it is good, in the sense that then you are enabling anybody to read and write. You are not restricting that. Okay, you have to know certain way of articulation, certain way of expression. Only then you can write, and only then you will belong to literature. So that is gone away, and that is why even now the beautiful thing with Telugu is that there are books and writers from various marginalized communities, various marginalized dialects groups, all of them writing in their own beautiful slangs, words. So that is a beautiful addition to the whole literary sphere. uh, like anything that comes with advantages has disadvantages also. Then some practical problems also happen, that if you don't have a standard and you say everything is allowed, then when, if at all you have to draw a baseline somewhere, you don't know where to put the baseline. So now as a publisher, where it's all a one person's effort. So I also edit the books, both for structural editing, copy editing, proofreading I take help. So when I edit, I don't know what's the correct spelling of this. Anytime you ask any person about a Telugu word, correctness of that spelling, they say everything is fine. You can write it like this, but you can write it also like that. So then there is no standardization, and then this will also create problems. Like if we want a spell check tool for Telugu, then it becomes impossible where you draw the baseline. If it is a word like Willy, then should you ella, you should give alaki matra, or or you can give just normal laki matra. So all of these things come up for discussion. And now what I'm seeing, because over the years, I'm also on the technical side of the language, right? So what I'm noticing is, especially when you do audio typing, text, speech to text, or when you are using this auto correction and all, that kind of software is having its own spelling ecosystem. So if you are using those tools to type it out or write, then your whole language is becoming something else. So these kind of problems are there with this, not having that distinction between colloquial and written form of language.
I want to explore your journey as a writer a little bit more. You have published a short story collection called The Emotional Pregnancy, and there is a strong stream of feminism throughout that work. And also, your recent work, On the Banks of Pampa by Volga, is a feminist retelling of what happened with a very small character in Ramayana, the character of Sabari. So, Where does the feminist reading has begun for you? And do you have a certain feminist paradigm to write as well as to select a text for translation?
Oh, okay. That's a loaded question. I hope I don't go on a long rant again. But see, there are two things here. One, I feel my stories, those I have put in emotional pregnancy. So I'll briefly first talk about emotional pregnancy and then come to translations and the feminism part. So emotional pregnancy, as I said, fiction was my first way of expression. For some reason, I thought I should create these characters, put them in situations, and make a story out of them. Is my natural inclination, and that is how I started writing stories. And again, I did not give much thought or much. There was no design to it, nothing. It just whatever story came to me, whatever lives I was seeing, I just kept on writing and writing. So like that, I think I have like 40 short stories so far I have written, which were all published here in mostly online. One or two stories have come in print magazines. So then, interestingly, I was asked to talk about my own stories in one conference. There is this ATA, uh, American Telugu Association. They conducted one event in Hyderabad, and they said like they asked me and four or five other short story writers to come and tell what is the work about and what do they think their work is about. And when for that, for the first time, I kept all my stories and started reading. And then I saw this design that I was actually trying to tell stories of love and intimate relationships and all from the frame of mental health. So, how mental health issues impact intimate relationships, and how intimate relationships can cause you various kind of uh, issues. So I think that emerged to me again because I'm trained as an engineer and practicing as an engineer. No, so I have this sense of how to connect things, what causes, what is the effect. So uh, it's like the systems engineering thinking is inbuilt into me. So when I read my own stories, I thought, okay, this is interesting. This is not what I thought about. And also, I think uh, again, I was writing this in my 20s and early 30s, most of them. So again, I had this like angry young lady kind of feeling against the pop culture and how pop culture represents love and what it talks about and what it refuses to talk about, I think was my major anguish. So I brought in all of these energies and wrote those things. And finally, when I wanted to put out a correction, usually in Telugu, it so happens that till that point, whatever you have written goes in the first volume. So in that sense, my story should have, my collection should have had like the 35, 40 stories I have written. But I thought, no, I just want to focus on this theme. I just want to bring this as an anthology, and hopefully it can create some conversations around on the subject of mental health and on the subject of how we interpret love and how we refuse to look at again the heteronormative love only. I belong to that. I can talk only about that with authenticity. So all the stories are limited to that framework. But yeah, I wrote them and I've put out them. I kept exploring other subjects also. I have written one short story, historical fiction, quote unquote, on Subra Humayun Mirza, who is a very eminent leader and someone who fought for women rights. And I have taken inspiration from her and written one story called Anisa because she also used to run that magazine. So that I have written. I have written about Wikipedia edit wars. In Wikipedia, anybody can go and edit any piece as long as you're a contributor and volunteer. But sometimes things can get very ugly and there can be wars between the editors. And that term is called edit war. So in the polarized world, how a platform like Wikipedia can or cannot survive, I've taken that as a theme and written one story. So yeah, I've explored themes, but nobody, no, in any of the reviews I got or anywhere people have spoken about my work, nobody called me a feminist, or that they can see feminism in my work. But I think my stories are feminist stories. Again, this word is has become such a tricky word now. The very word feminism. Uh, so there are hundreds of explanations, books, um, arguments, discourses around me. But for me, I think feminism is something that wants to put everyone on the equal footing and wants to give everyone the equal chance to tell their story, is what feminism is. But I'm not the kind of person who has read a lot of theory about it or can talk about it. No, I am not also the person who can, like, anytime there are Facebook, Twitter wars, no, I'm not the person to go and tell, no, 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 this is what that lady has said at that time, so you have to consider this. I can't do that. Also, I'm totally incapable. My kind of feminism is when my colleague goes on a maternity leave, and if she is being forced to work during that maternity week, then I'll go to my boss and say that is wrong. That my limitation, or yeah, my limitation, or my scope of working with feminism is only that much. If one of my fellow women writer has written on a difficult subject and everybody is attacking her for writing touching that topic, then standing with her is my feminism. Ashte, I can't do anything more than this. So whether my work has feminist themes, whether I'm talking on for the sake of women or am I asking them to move ahead, all of those are up to the readers and critics. They have to figure. It's not my job is to tell stories. I have done. One small example I can give is I've written one story which is about it is in a different world, not our regular world. It is in a different world where men are minority, when men are oppressed, and this man has to prove himself as a career oriented man. So his ambition is to be career oriented man, but he is forced to be at home and take care of a child, his own child. So that it is a very satirical, humorous piece that I have done, and it got good response. And like some 2 or 3 months later, one random reader has sent a mail saying that it is a she sent a mail that I've read that story. I was so mad at myself, and I got into a job. She was on a prolonged maternity break. She never returned to work after a break, and like 6, 7 years old kids. But then she said something about that story triggered me so much that I went back to work, and I'm trying to find my place and my voice in this world, is what she said. Again, I don't know if that would be called feminism or not. I'm not getting into that argument. So that is about my stories. The other side, when I think again, even though I have not read theories, I don't know a lot of, I can't quote many writers like this, or I can't impress people with arguments. My thing again, I think my childhood, my upbringing gave me this sense that everyone has to have their equal space in this, and nobody should be pushed back because of the gender, race, caste, religion, whatever. So that sense, I think I have it. And yeah, I have translated someone like Amrita Preetham, which is like one of the most difficult text. Even I would say, so far, out of all the things I have worked on, which are mostly trauma heavy text, except for Olga's Pampa theorem, which was, I mean, in that story, Shebari is not talking from there is something called writing from the wound and writing from the scar. So I think Olga Shebari is at a place where she has come and made peace with herself, her past, her loss and grief, everything, and then she is telling her story to us, and that is why it won't, like, the pain is not overwhelming to us. So in that, the emotional aspect of translation I'm talking about. So that is fine, but both Manto and Amrita have written from the space of wound. When the partition wounds were very raw, where the bleeding, that is when they responded. And to pick up those kind of text and do translation was really hard. And I translated Pinjar, which is one of its major theme is motherhood, imposed motherhood, because this girl is kidnapped and then violated, and then she becomes a mother, and then chosen motherhood. A kid, a baby gets orphaned, and she picks up and nourishes the baby, accepts him as his baby, her baby. So so with these themes, and that is that is the time in my life when the curtains of me ever becoming a biological mother in this lifetime were closing down. I was coming to that conclusion that I wouldn't choose that path. So translating Amrita in that emotionally vulnerable space was triggering plus also healing. Okay, and I think Amrita is a very, very important writer because she has talked about women's body and how Indian women perceive their body like no other Indian writer I have read. So in that sense, like Amrita is known as a feminist icon because she has led her life in her own terms. She did not walk down to the typical patriarchal setups. She chose what to write. She chose whom to love and how freely express about it. So all of these things is what she is celebrated about. But I think she had a deeper sense of how Indian women are made to feel about their own bodies and how they are always objectified, and what this glorified motherhood concept actually can mean to someone who is burdened by that. So these are the things that have come up to me while translating Amrita. So far, I have worked on 4 full-length books. One is Manto, one is Amrita Preetham, then Mallu Swarajyam. Mallu Swarajyam is Telangana Arms Movement leader, who was a militant leader who actually led the Dalams and all to fight against Razakars and the henchmen of the Deshmukhs at that time. So her volume, and then Olga. All of them are are people not just who have went on to do big things in their life, but people who stood up for themselves and others with utmost conviction. I always approached any of these translations with a kind of trepidation and also a kind of can I do this? Am I even the right person to do this? Will I be able to do justice to this? So those kind of questions that repeatedly fogged me. Um, but yeah, I think I am not choosing any of these texts because okay, this is about partition, that is about feminism, something else about maybe caste, something else about religion. So okay, these many tick marks I am putting, therefore my resume looks like this, or though that is not the kind of thinking that is going in. I am responding to the story, and I am being with the characters, and I am I'm internalizing them, and that is how I pick this, but not really. And for me, even in Pampa Theorem, the Shabari story that we are talking about, it's not just about Sabari being this wronged one, and then she is standing up for herself, and she putting her voice forward. She is putting her arguments forward. That is not the only thing that pulled me through the text. The compassion she has, someone like Shabari, like the sense I get when I read or while I was translating it, the sense I got is like she is this. If there is a concept of universal mother, she is the one, right? So she is compassionate not just to Kabanda, who is very close to her, but also Sutapa, who is an absolute stranger to her. She knows the hidden agendas of Sugriva and Anuma, but she is equally compassionate. And likewise, she is compassionate to all the creatures, all the for everything. For her, she can only radiate compassion. She can only give that. So that is also beautiful, and I think that is also part of feminism. That someone has theorized or put out as arguments or not, I don't know. But this, as humans, can we be as compassionate as possible to ourselves and to all others around us, is also a very important point that needs to be considered. And one other thing, again, this is my engineering kind of understanding the world, is that, see, even in software engineering, we have a lot of frameworks, we have a lot of theories, we have something called design patterns, like how to design a particular solution and all of that. But what we are repeatedly told is, all of this is fine. You are given all the tools, techniques, whatever the wisdom the past folks had, all of them is compiled in these kind of tools and frameworks and given to you. But use your common sense. These may be something that will be useful to you, but use your common sense to decide that or not. So what I feel is, all these theories, be it feminism or any other theories, they are all important for us to make a sense of the world and understand the world at a large, and comprehend it. But when when a situation comes, it is our common sense, it is our intuitiveness, it is our it is the core qualities that we carry, that is what comes out. And not really that, okay, some person has said something at that time, therefore I'm going to do this, is not how it works. So I think, yeah, so that's why I don't really want to get entangled in this things. And also, what I have seen is, at least in Telugu, among my peers, those who are labeled as quote unquote feminist writers have to deal with a different set of challenges. No, then if they write any other story, then, oh, she has moved away from feminism and she's writing something else now. All of that thing comes. So yeah, I think. For me, being very frank, my translations have got some attention, both in Telugu and now even Pampa seems to be getting. But my writing, like, I have a small set of core followers who have been following my work and who are very keen on the stories that I am putting out. But by and large, overall, the Telugu literary sphere has ignored me and said, okay, she is some software engineer, some writing something, let her write. They don't bother about me much. And that is a blessing, because for a writer, anonymity is the best thing to happen. When there is no attention, no focus, no labels given to you, you enjoy that kind of freedom and azadi to, like, do whatever you want, and play around, experiment. Going back to my gully cricket metaphor, like, if you are playing in a stadium with 1,000 floodlights and half a lakh people sitting and cheering you, that is a different pressure. Gully cricket is a good kind of way to express yourself. Yeah.
No, there's certainly some freedom that comes with, number one, not fitting yourself in a certain ideology, and number two, not getting too much attention. Otherwise, our time will go in responding to the other stuff.
Yeah, so I would like to, sorry for interrupting, but I would like to say this one thing. One of my favorite writers, and I think she is the absolute feminist, whether she called herself or that or not, is Dorothy Parker, the US writer. So she says, I hate writing, I love having written, is one of her famous quote. But in my case, it is Ulta. I love writing. I hate having written, because having written means, then yeah, there will be some discussion, something happening, some, yeah, I'm not very comfortable talking about my work also, in the sense, see, I did all the hard work to write the story. So please spend time with the story, not me. the writer who wrote that, Purnima who wrote that story, is gone. She is now in the past. This Purnima is different now after writing the story. So as a reader or as a critic or whatever, you deal with the story, not with me, is my point. Yeah.
No, this reminds me in the On the Banks of Pampa postscript, which is an interview between you and Olga.
Hmm.
You say that nobody owns a copyright for a story. Stories are like birds.
Yes,
Can you
yes.
explain us that metaphor?
So I, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I feel that
Take a
because
minute.
I, hmm?
Take a
Ah,
minute.
okay. No, I think the reason I say that is difficult to communicate. I think it is, again, what I said, no, your intuition, the way you feel. Sometimes some things are beyond your rational brain, beyond your intellectuality, and those things are little harder to explain. And sometimes I feel, because I don't have a formal training in literature, I'm coming up with all these excuses, with all this fiction. But no, stories, yes, in the modern world, with the printing presses and all, there is a copyright owner, and that we should respect. I strongly urge all the translators to check the copyrights before uh, starting their work and all of those things. And as a publisher, I'm like super duper conscious about dealing with copyrights. So I'm not talking in that sense. Like, I'm not saying, okay, ignore or neglect copyrights. No, that will be a crime. So please take care. But what in general sense I'm saying is, um, stories as such don't belong to anyone. They are there. It's only my interpretation of the story. When I'm bringing that story in my words, or over that, I have a copyright. If someone is taking those words and making a play, then they have a copyright over that play. Someone is making a song out of that story, then they have copyright over the song. But overall, the story is always there. It is around us, is what I feel. uh, because as human beings, we have been always telling stories, no, when even when these frameworks were not there, when the legalities were not included, we were always telling stories. We were always repeating stories. Like, what is the point if a story is not retold? What is the point? So I thought about this question, um, especially because there is this movie called The Fall. It's a 2006 movie. I can't remember the director name, but he has Indian origin, or is an Indian. Where a stunt master meets with an accident. The story is set in 1920s or something like that, and he meets with an accident, hospitalized, and a little girl comes into the same hospital where she has come with a broken arm, and this guy is depressed and lost all hope, and he is trying to die by suicide repeatedly, and this girl keeps coming and bugging him to tell him stories. So then at one point it comes that this guy is making every story too dark and depressing, and all of that. Basically, the stories he's telling is reflecting his mind state. But this girl who's young, like 5 6 years old girl, who's young and cheerful and positive, with a positive outlook, doesn't like all this. So she asks him, why are you messing it up all around? Why are you making everybody die? At least keep this one guy safe and let him win in this situation. um, but that guy says, this is my story and my wish. Okay, I will write it as much. Then the little kid says, no, I'm listening to this is my story. Okay, so then if a story is made between the storyteller and the story listener, between the writer and the reader, then who actually has the right? So that is where I say that all stories are all around us already. It is only some of us listening and some of us retelling. So I became a writer, or I became a translator, because I'm listening to the stories and also taking this little bit additional role to tell the stories to others. So that is why I have the slightly elevated position. But otherwise, we are all like, even when we all sit together for chai, or some people come home, I have to tell you this story. Something interesting happened while I was coming. This Uber guy, no. So so yeah, we are all basically storytellers. Yeah, and stories are all around there.
So moving a bit ahead, I want to ask you, in which language do you think when you're writing? Right, you're familiar with your primary language is English, now your writing language is Telugu, but in which language do you think when you write your stories in Telugu?
This is also quite funny. I mean, I've given it a considerable doubt, considerable deliberation on this, and try to access it. But yeah, I think even today Telugu is not so prominent in my head, despite all the work that I'm doing. It is still like, okay, this 1 2 hours that I'm working, that Telugu is coming to me. But otherwise, it is primarily in English, because I read extensively in English, whether translation or anything. All my reading has come from that. My waking up hours, like talking to Telugu friends or family, it's like it doesn't even constitute a hour a day. So apart from that, I'm constantly talking in English, and I'm yeah, trying to understand the world in English. So whatever I'm consuming, podcast, newspapers, this, that, memes, everything is in English. And and the Telugu movies also I hardly watch. I have zero understanding of Telugu cinema. Uh, More so recently in the last 20 years, but even then I only am aware about some classic, some super hit movies. So I don't even consume a lot of Telugu pop culture content. So yeah, all put together, English is still my thinking language, I think, because that is also interesting, right? So some of the ideas that we want, like say mental health or queer or any of these topics that are like, the understanding of them is emerging and we are trying to deal with it. All of that content is in English only, so then you use that vocabulary. So actually, I there is one kind of translation going on in my head when I'm trying to write in Telugu, a story that I write. There are occasions when I have dumped all my thoughts only in English, all the dialogues, all the meat of the story, I dump it in English, and then I'll sit and write in Telugu. So that is the kind of translation act happened. And this one Kannada writer, Vivek Shanbag, once very beautifully, that was the time when I moved to Bangalore, and that was the time when my stories were getting little attention, but negative attention, in the sense that oh, she's using a lot of English in her stories. uh, why write so much English in Telugu stories? And this is how the Basha gets spoiled, got rotten, so we should not encourage this kind of writing. All of that was happening. So when I approached him, I mean, when I had a chance to ask him a question in one of the meetups, I asked him, this is the kind of feedback I'm getting. So should I stop writing in Telugu for good and write in English? Because what is happening is, I am writing about this middle class, sorry, upper middle class urban couples. So therefore, there is a lot of English that is inevitable, and that is why I'm putting that in the stories. But apparently, that is something that we should not do. Then he gave me a very beautiful answer, saying that all all writing is translation. He said that you are translating already from your feelings, from your observations, from your gaze. You are already translating into words. Okay. And then he said that don't worry about the word is English or Urdu or something else. All you have to do as a writer, your craftsmanship comes into picture when you can make this foreign word sit very nicely and aram say like a good friend among the rest of the Telugu words. If you can bring that kind of craftsmanship to your story, And if you can make this foreign word also flow along with the rest of the Telugu words, and give that slight illusion to your readers that okay, this story might be a Telugu word, let's go on. If you can give that kind of impression, then it will, then you don't have to worry about what people say. And also he and another one of my favorite Kannada writers, he is Jayant Kaikani. I had a similar question to him also, and then he said, "No, let the story come to you in whichever fashion. I mean, your thinking language may be something, but where the story is, you are able to express strongly. So that language you have to choose and keep it. Don't worry about attention, lack of attention, people reading, not reading, and all. So, so yeah, that's my answer."
You have reflected a bit about the readers, right? So, especially for Telugu literature, what we are finding is there are less readers now, right? Would you like to reflect on the reading ecosystem for the Telugu literature?
Oh man, we are going to sit all night on this recording now, because that is one of the most touchy subjects for me. Oh yeah, I don't think the Telugu readers are less in number. I wouldn't agree. I now have close to 18 years of experience in writing in Telugu, and not just writing, but also being very active uh, uh, in roles like Pustakam.net web administrator and running the website, and now LME Publications. And I've seen people um, on Facebook, on social media handles. I have met people. So with all this understanding, I won't agree that Telugu readers are less. Okay, what is less or what is completely broken is the Telugu distribution system. So there is writer who is writing, and there is reader who is wanting to read. So very in a very business and technical terminology, there is supply, there is demand. Okay, but but between these two there should be something that enables this supply to reach the demand, and this demand to ask for more supply. Okay, so that is what is broken in Telugu. It may be broken in other languages also, but it is severely broken in Telugu. So for a reader, again I have written this one piece for Andhra Jyoti editorial, not editorial, the literary edition, about the loneliness of a Telugu writer. Okay, I'm writing, but when my work is not reaching to the readers and I'm not getting any kind of response back, except for this already literary interested folks giving some feedback out of jealousy, out of insecurity, out of this, that, then it becomes a terribly lonely journey for a writer as well. So, what needs to be fixed is, and this is why I repeatedly say now with print on demand, many people think that publishing is a cakewalk. You just have to have some minimum budget, you have to have one manuscript, you can send it to printer, and then you become a publisher. No, as a publisher, what you need to figure out is how to fix this broken thing. And a writer and reader both can't exist in isolation. They need an ecosystem, and that ecosystem is bookstores, public libraries, because not everybody have access to reading books. I didn't have access to reading books for the first 23 years of my life, till I had the earning capacity, till I was in job earning, and I said I will do what I want to do with my money. Till that point I did not have access, and I did not have libraries around me. So that, and then a good review system, book review system, or a way to know that this book has. So right now, the readers, there is so much activity happening in the Telugu literature sphere. Many folks are writing, young, old, different communities, different backgrounds. But the work they are writing is limited to a certain section of social media, and it's like a 100 party member, where after 2 3 hours everybody is bumping into the same person. So that that kind of feeling the writers community is getting, and that is why they make these statements like, okay, right now in Telugu there are more writers than readers. But no, it is some of us. elite or not, some of us in our cocoons, in our neighborhood or in our extended families, we think, oh, nobody is reading Telugu now, everybody has moved on to English, therefore the books sales have come down, nobody is reading these days. All of that is a very privileged and elite way of viewing. Even if you go to any small town or a district headquarter, if you put any event there, literary event, the kind of attention that you get, the number of people that come and try to access, uh, that is unbelievable. And the kind of effort people are putting to buy and procure books and putting like trying to engage with this and I was also to some extent before LME, I started LME. uh, I was also this in this impression, I'm writing, who is reading, what is the point? Those things occur. I mean, there are good days and there are bad days. But what I realized is, especially because LME retail distribution, we only do. We have one distributor who does uh, distribution in the both the Telugu states, but the online and any direct orders, we take them. Anything that comes from social media. So I have interesting anecdotes on this. So there's this one guy who is a senior police officer and who ordered our books, like 10 copies. And when someone does a bulk thing, you are generally curious. When he asked, then he said, okay, our staff, the ones lower in the hierarchy, they can only read Telugu, and you seem to be getting this very interesting work. So I want to give all of the your publications to them. So that is one thing. Then on the opposite side of the spectrum, there was this one young person who was giving police constable exams in AP, and he reached out to me saying, I want Manto book. I'm desperate to read that. But right now I can't afford the 190 rupees you have put on the cover. I need some time. I have only 250 bucks. I'm paying the exam fee plus saving some money for commute. So let me finish my exam and give me one more week. Then I'll come and buy the book. I said, you don't have to worry about that. You just I mean, do your exams well and come back. Then he was like, no, no, no. But sometimes these books, no, they go out of print very soon, and then it becomes very rare. Then I had to assure him, no, I'm going to keep you a copy aside. You please go concentrate on the book. So and as he said, he 1 week later he paid me that money, and I posted him the book. And there was another instance where I posted the book, and after that, I usually follow up whether they received it or not. We use Indian Post because that's the most economical way of sending it, but also that is like a little tricky whether Bubu preaches or not, we don't know. So I usually follow up with the readers, and I asked this person, see, I have checked in the tracking, it says received, but have you got the book? He said, no, it might be in the post office. I was like very casually, oh, why ask the postman to come, no, to your place, and if he doesn't come, raise a complaint. Why you have to go to post office? And that man was like, no, I live up the hill. In this is in northern coastal Andhra near Vizag. I live up the hill, and I have to do a 3 kilometer trek down to reach I mean, get the copy from post office, which I will do. And no postman does this trekking every day to give us books, so we are good. I was like, if that is, and I was suddenly feeling very um, unsure about this. Like, ayo, he has to do so much for. And I was like, okay, but you have ordered this book. You are now taking so much pain for this, like trekking up and down. What if you don't like the book? And then he was like, no, I read your interview in Andhra Jyoti, and you given answers. There is no way I'm not going to like your book. I'm very sure that you have done a good work. And I was like, oh my God, this is, I mean, whenever there are days when LME work is becoming too overwhelming for me, and I just want to drop everything and go to bed, in those kind of situations, I recollect these kind of incidents, that what people told me. See, if there is if there is really that kind of indifference and that kind of apathy towards reading and literature, in my very small capacity, again, let me tell you, LME even today has just 800, 900 followers on Instagram. We are having a very limited presence in that sense. But if I can get these samples, imagine if we can really have a good ecosystem of public libraries, of bookstores. Again, bookstores also, there are two or three major bookstores in major towns like Hyderabad, Vijayawada. Those are the primary hubs even now. And these other towns and cities have this very small bookstores with limited thing. And if you're going to a Telugu bookstore and if you're seeing the same set of authors again and again, because they are stocking up only the authors that will sell. So if as a reader I'm stepping in and seeing the same things, then fourth or fifth time I won't even go, no. So that is why they say there are no sales. But if you can reach out to the readers and tell this is the new work, this is the contemporary work that is coming, fiction, non-fiction, this is what you need to read to understand your surroundings well, your situations well, then there will be more readers, right? And also we have to remember this, yeah, as Telugus, we are like the third or fourth most spoken language in the country. Our diaspora is very, very strong. Okay, so in numbers we are up there. And even if you take all these theories of, okay, television killed, now OTT killed readership, nobody, Instagram attention span issues, or even if you take all of this, even if you say only 1% or only 0.1% folks are reading, still interested in reading books, even if that is your argument, given the Telugu population, that number should be very, very high. And the number is not high right now, is because everything between a writer and a reader is totally collapsed. And all of us have to think about how to rebuild this thing.
So it's not just the broken reader ecosystem, it's this whole supplier system and the price system that are in picture.
So I think even now, Telugu books are very decently priced. And I'm not defending this as a Telugu publisher, but this is the crisis that all of Indian publishing right now is facing, is because anything that we have to buy, paper, printing services, book design, cover typesetting services, anything, GST is applicable. But on the books itself, there is no GST. So that is already the extra burden on the thing. And now with all the inflation that is going on, the cost, the book making cost itself has gone high. So so the so that is also an additional burden. And overall in India, within India, it's a cost sensitive market. I agree, but it is extra sensitive in Indian languages. You see a big name and on English cover page, and you still be okay to shell 500, 600 rupees for that book and get it home. But in Telugu, we have to be very conscious that even a 10 rupees, 15 rupees increase in the price will make few readers drop. And that is why I'm repeatedly saying that this burden, both on the writer and both on the publisher and the reader, will reduce if there are access to public libraries, if there are venues where you don't have to put money out of your pocket and own the copies. Because yeah, as a book reader, I'm telling now, books come with two costs, no. One cost we always speak is about what is the cost on the cover, what is the money we are putting and purchasing. But the hidden cost that we don't talk about is the shelf space. If you have books, you have to take a bigger space, you have to look for a house that has better shelves, or you have to shell money on cupboards and these things. So if someone is coming to me and saying, I'm not going to buy your book because already there are too many books in my house, I'm more empathetic to that person, because that is totally understandable. Because it's not like you order something from Swiggy, you eat it and you throw the package. That's not how books work, right? So there are two costs, and those two costs are heavy on readers, especially from those coming from little economically challenging situations. And that is why the government or the philanthropist or somebody has to uh, make reading again a community activity in that sense, and that way that we will reduce the thing. But if these things are not in place, even as I love some of these bookstores in Bangalore or elsewhere also, where you can go, sit, read, and nobody will say, okay, make order it now and leave. So you can go spend some time, make that. You have only 500 rupees in your pocket, so you can browse through 10 books, sit there, read few pages, and say, okay, my 500 rupees will go only for this book today. If even you are able to give that kind of space to the reader, that is also a service, I would say. So yeah, these are much more complex. But again, there is one part of me also that says that, okay, we don't hesitate so much to buy OTT things, or like spend anywhere else. We don't mind 200 bucks for a coffee, but 200 for rupees for a book, we think and think. So yeah, again, it's about priorities, each to their own. I'm not judging, but yeah, pricing can't go any lower. That much I can say.
So, Purnima, we have spoken about many things. Now, let's talk about our main topic, right, which is translations. And tell us about being a translator, and also what is the importance of translation itself?
Okay, the importance of translation itself is uh, that we can't live in isolation, right? So we need to know other languages, and that is why attempt to communicate as basic as human beings. One of our basic needs are, apart from food, shelter, and those things, it is to communicate, right? And for whatever reasons we have, because of our communities, the socio-political things, whatever these lead to, that certain languages are primary languages that we in and out deal with daily. But there are occasions when you have to know other languages, whether you have to. So for commerce depends a lot on translation, right? Though we don't identify that as a. So if a Bihari is moving to Bangalore and trying to work here as um, a working class, like a Uber driver or something, then they will be forced to learn Kannada, or like motivation will be much stronger than someone like me who has come in and working as a software engineer and getting away with English. So the translation is inevitable and it is all over. I remember one of my fondest memory of translation, even before I understood language as such, was this, because I'm an 80s kid. When I was 5 or 6 years old, Ramayanam and Mahabharatam, Ramanand Sagar and B.R. Chopra's thing was a massive thing in Indian household. So every morning around 8:39, one episode used to air, and that was in Hindi, in Doordarshan, Hindi language. But any of these major newspapers of Telugu used to carry the entire script of that episode. And my parents and my neighborhood, other folks used to read the 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 dialogues, the what is going to happen, all the incidents. It's like a script given in Telugu language. They used to read that, be prepared, then go sit in front of TV and watch the episode when it is live, when it went on air. So, so yeah, translation in that sense is inevitable. And when it comes to literary translations, yes, for the very same reason, we have to exchange stories. We have to know each other's point of view, each other's concerns, each other's predicaments, and that is why we translate. Otherwise, we are all gonna be living in our own shells, without translation and never getting out of it and never understanding the world as such. And one more thing is what translation makes us understand is that even though our lives are localized, our problems are localized, somewhere there is universality. Somewhere we share problems, not in the same form or shape, but underlying themes, underlying concerns are same. So translation in that sense is also inevitable. It's not even like necessary. It happens without even much thought. But maybe something like literary translation we focusedly discuss, and the other forms of translations that happen just happen. Yeah. And what was the other question?
So, your journey as a translator.
Yeah, as I said, no, I started with Gulzar, then Manto, and when I did, I mean, I was seeing fair bit of success. Then I started exploring other Hindustani writers, and I did a bit of Harishankar Parsai, I did a bit of Fikr Tansvi. Uh, all these people in and around partition were some of the things that I was picking up. And then what I realized is even within Hindustani, whoever writers have written in Urdu, only those who have market even today were brought in Devanagari, like someone like Manto, someone like Chuktai, who are like even famous in this age and time. Only their works were available in Devanagari and not the other authors. Like suppose if you want to read Fikir Tansvi's Chatta Darya, which is one of its kind book. It's a journal on Indian partition, only non-fiction book that's available. From the person who has lived that experience. So that is either available in Urdu or it is available in now available in uh, Maaz bin Bilal's translation, English translation as the Sixth River. Um, and then uh, and then I was also realizing the rich literature that is available in the Deccan region of of India. Well, like yeah, in and around Hyderabad, there are many writers who have written in Urdu and in Deccani Urdu, and that was also not available in Devanagari. So apart from exploring this, because I moved to Bangalore and I was also trying to explore Kannada literature, I again used translation as a process of learning language. As I said earlier, I studied both the Kannada book and its English translation and try to make sense of both and write to Telugu so that I can get the gist of the words. I can um, like you can learn words, you can keep improving your vocabulary, but unless you use it, they won't stick with you, right? So this translation as a process where language sticks with me. Um, so that I have done, and quite out of blue, two projects, Mallu Swarajyam's memoir, which is Namate Tupaki Tuta, published by HBT. They approached me to translate into English, and then Volga's Pampa also came to me. So I translated those two books uh, into English. Yeah, so this is the overall journey I have had. In between, there was another interesting project that I did. This was called Tumbi Children's Magazine. It is a bilingual magazine, Tamil and English, run by Cuckoo Forest, a school for run for children in the forest, and they also were putting this magazine, and they had an interesting tie-up with Telangana government, where they wanted to bring Tumbi in Telugu and distribute it across public schools and libraries in Telangana. So I worked closely on that as main project lead and also primary translator. Out of 17 editions, I think I did 12 or 13, and I coordinated with other translators to get the work done. So that is also bilingual edition. One side of the text of the book has English content, the other side has Telugu. That is the first and only venture so far that I did for children, which was fun in its own ways. Yeah.
So, when you're translating, how much power do you think you as a translator have over the original text? Because for us, if we are not a native reader of language, we don't know that language, and we get what you are giving us, right? How much
Yes.
power do you think the translator have over the text? That's the first question. And along with that, I would also want you to address what are some of the issues that you face when you're translating, because there are some things which are completely does not make sense in a different language. For example, an idiom. How do you deal with these things?
Okay, we'll take it one at a time. We'll first discuss the power thing and then go into the other one. So yeah, power is a tricky word, and I do not want to use that because sometimes these words, no, we have to. Each has their own interpretation of it, and if I say, okay, translator has to take power over the original and things like that, that can become a controversy in itself. So what I would say is. Um, yeah, how much I own the text, maybe that is a better wording. How much I own the text, to bring, how much should I own the text to bring it into translation? So maybe we'll articulate it that way. So that has always been a tricky surface for me. I mean, that is always where i'm I'm like little shaky, because again, as I said, I've worked with three or four big names now. So their entire persona, their body of work, and also I was starting with this without much information about or much understanding of about what is literary translation as such. So I always found this thing overwhelming. But what I do is I try to spend as much time as with the text. Okay, for me, it becomes paramount that I read the text as many times as closely as possible, and then try, in some sense, try to internalize and also catch the voice of the author. Apart from that, what I also do is not just this particular text that I am translating. I also read everything around, as much as possible, if not everything, around the writer. In the sense that if I'm reading, if I'm doing Manto, then I read his body of work. Plus, I also read what kind of things were said about him, how did he react to it, all of those things, because these things become very important for me to find that grounding. Then, in case of Amrita Pritam or Mallu Swarajyam, it is important for me to understand their worldviews, their way of looking at people, understanding people. All of those things become important to me. Then Olga Garu is work. I needed put in concentrated effort because over the decade I was reading her, I was interacting with her, so I had a greater sense of that. So once I have this kind of understanding, this kind of footing, that I'm able to find within the text, then I try to translate. But now when I'm doing the first draft of the translation, I'm trying to be as close as possible to the original, even if that reads awkward, that reads crooked, crude, I'm okay. I just go with being as close as to the text. Once I know that I have, like, however much can be carried from the original I have got into this language, once I get that confidence, then I'll push the original slightly away, and then make this text reach the reader, the target reader. So wherever possible, uh, I'm going to, like, example, that is an idiom. So can I find an equivalent idiom if there is something very close in both the languages? That is like a that is like a gift, you just use it. But sometimes you also have to take a decision that, do you want to find a relatively closer idiom for this, or do you want to translate the idiom as it is, so that it brings in a much more effectiveness to the translation. So these are the decisions that every translator has to deal with it, and this also changes from text to text. Even within, suppose, short stories, in one short story you may choose to use an equivalent idiom, but in another one, where I mean, that idiom in some sense is again and again getting used, the ideas or the words in that idiom are again and again thrown in the text, then possibly you have to translate it and not find a equivalent thing. So things like that needs to be taken care. And in one of the workshops that I have attended, uh, Dr. Vanamala Vishwanath, who is herself and like one of the most important translators we have right now in terms of the classical text and Kuvempu work she did, and she's an excellent teacher also. So she gave this beautiful analogy of how much ownership, or how much ownership of understanding the translated text between the translator and the reader, the target reader. So she told us two things. One is Markata Nyayam, the other is Marjala Nyayam. Marjala Nyayam is like how a cat carries kitten. How does it? It catches on the neck, bites on the neck, and takes it. In that, the kitten has no role to play. It just surrenders. It just, I mean, just cooperates, and then the cat takes it. Whereas in Markata Nyayam, when the monkey is when a monkey is holding its baby, the onus is on the baby also to tightly hug its mother, right? So only, and then they hop from one branch to other, and the things like that. So so in that sense, I go with Markata Nyayam, in the sense that I put in lot of trust and confidence in my readers, that even though there are certain things that I am not able to get as it is from the text, or there are some words that I am leaving as it is from the text. The reader will do enough work, or the reader will do enough thinking to make a sense of this whole thing. So in that sense, yeah, the ownership from a translator point of view is that I understand as much as possible about the writer, not just the writing, so that I get a better sense, and then that internalization gives me an idea that if that person, say Manto or Amrita, are actually speaking Telugu, then what would they say about this? So that it kind of gives me that sense. And then I'm putting some onus on the reader also, saying that I can bring this text to this level. Now you have to walk a few steps towards it, and make this whole thing uh, not really success, a fruitful endeavor. Yeah.
Could you also reflect a bit about the kind of challenges which translators face in India, right? The whole translator ecosystem.
Okay, but yeah, this will be a tricky one, because again, we can't take this translator as a homogeneous identity and then discuss the problems, no? Because someone translating into Telugu may face different set of challenges, altogether different set of challenges, be it from the craft point of view, be it from like getting copyrights and those things, or be it getting the suitable publisher and those things. While if someone is translating into English and having to deal with the English publishing industry in India, then that is altogether different beast, right? So yeah, but overall, I think there are set of challenges that we are facing, no matter what. I mean, language to language, it can get tricky. But the first and foremost point that I want to, or I want to be as vocal as possible, is that translation is seen as a act of labor. Sorry, love of labor, and that because there is no money within the literature ecosystem anyways, and because even the writer is not being paid as much anyways, it is okay to underpay or not pay translators at all, is a kind of like unwritten rule. So that is problematic, I think, because if that becomes a standard, where translators should not be expecting compensation, if that becomes a standard, then only those with a certain set of privileges would be able to do translations, and not people from various backgrounds, various various kind of economic status can take active literary translation. I'm not saying, and I'm saying this as a publisher as well. I'm not saying we can like do justice to a larger extent, but again, we should not take it for granted. Okay, this person is like very interested in doing this, so let them do it, and not try to compensate them. That should not be the thing. The second biggest problem we have is our understanding of copyrights. Uh, how to approach for copyrights, whom to approach, when to approach, how to deal with all of these things. There is very little understanding of this that goes into, and especially as beginner translators, many folks come to me and say, I have already translated this full length story or full length novel or whatever, and now I want translation copyrights. Can you help? But that is like the reverse way of doing it. You as a beginner translator, if you want to do it for the joy and understanding of the craft, you can pick anything, do anything, but you can't publish. But if you want to publish, or if you have plans to publish, then the first and foremost thing is you select a translation, you select a text for translating, and then you have to go to the author if they are alive. If they are not alive, then you have to understand when they died. If it is more than 60 years from the date of death, they are in public domain, then you don't have to ask anybody. But if it is less than 60 years, then you have to figure out who the publisher or the legal heir or the literary heir that is for this writer, and approach them and say, ask them that you want to translate this and take their permission. Even for publishing in again, this may vary in Indian languages. Indian language magazines or websites may just publish the translation. But if you are sending it to English web magazines or any of these portals that put translated work, they will ask for a permission letter from the author or the author's legal heirs. Only then your submission will be accepted. So that is one other thing that one needs to understand. And then again, there will what to pick up for translation is also an interesting challenge. So sometimes opportunities come to us. Someone asks that, okay, we are willing to publish this, can you please translate? That is more or less the ideal situation. But apart from that, uh, we have to choose and select writers. If we have to choose and select writers, then that means we have to read a lot. We have to understand it. Because suppose um, I will leave aside Mallu Swarajam and Volga for some time, but now I want to bring some Telugu literature to the English, is my ambition or my aspiration. Then I have to understand what kind of literature has come and has been coming in Telugu, what can be translated, like what uh, what text and their copyrights are easy to get, and then whether if I translate, will the English publishers will be interested in this topic, this theme, um, this this particular text. And then I have to again, if if at all I'm convinced that this is something English publishers will pick it up, then I'll have to sit and try to pitch in that, in the sense that I have to understand the whole thing, the text, and the text's place in Telugu literature, and if it comes into English translation, how it will add to the understanding of an Indian reader. All of this I should be able to write a neat little pitch or synopsis, and synopsis of the book plus this argument in the favor of the book, so that the publisher can pick it. So it involves a lot of reading. So that is also something, as beginner translators, people ask me that we want to translate. You select a text and give it to me. You suggest which writer to go with. But this is all because it is such a prolonged endeavor. It goes on for years and years sometimes once you pick the work. So it should be you completely into the text and into the author, and only then you can sustain it for that long, and then you can get an actual output of it. And from craft point of view, there can be many things, like like something like Indian languages are which very rich culturally, in politically, geographically. So the words, everything is very pertaining to that language, right? And when you bring that to something like English, which is like an import from colonialism, right? So there will be not words, then you have to figure out, and things like that, or you have to invent, or actually, if anyone is very much interested in literary translation, I would say go and pick some of these beautiful Malayalam novels that have come from Malayalam to English, done by J Devika or Shri Kalatil, and the translators like this, and understand how they make English bend to Malayalam, in the sense that they will still retain those words, they will still retain that geography, that culture, but still make English flow in a beautiful way. So like if you sit, even though you don't know Malayalam, sit and read, and try to study those passages, and you will get a greater understanding of how an Indian language, or sorry, an Indian story can blend into English. And even if you are someone who is wanting to write Indian stories in English directly, this would be, because we are all translating at some level or the other. We are all continuously translating. Yeah, and when you translate between Indian languages, there are other set of challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is one of the major issue which some people have started talking, which is the issues that you have to face if you want to translate from English to other regional language, and also
Mm,
translate between regional languages, right? It is a
mm.
big challenge. Can I also get some reflections about translating fiction and non-fiction? What kind of challenges that would face?
Fiction, the narrative voice is is more or less in tune with the story that is being told, and then you have, and the characters and the setting. So then you have to be very sure that the words, the choices you are making, everything suits to that universe, that little universe that the author is trying to create. So the narrator voice, um, and the choices they have made are mostly pertaining to do to do justice and to create that world in reader's mind. Whereas when they are actually doing non-fiction, they are writing from their own world, right? The life they have lived. So what I always found is that Manto's fiction is very gentle in some sense. The tone, the voice, he's he's telling a story, and there is a certain performatory aspect to it. So he is so imagine Manto telling you a story. So he is trying to modulate his voice according to that. That is his fictional world. But when it comes to Manto's essays, especially the ones he responded in court, or the ones he responded to his peers for the literary criticism thrown at him, there he is very vociferous. There he is very angry. The emotion dominates the sometimes dominates the text. So then I have to get this distinction in the sense that when he is trying to tell the story, it is more of the emotion of the characters, but the narrator is still very level-headed, or it is going in one constant rhythm. But when it is his own essays that come into picture, either humor, sarcasm, or anger, or pain, or agony, these emotions kind of hit the reader first, and then the language. So when I try to translate, uh, I try to bring in this difference mostly. So yeah, that is one. And the other thing is non-fiction. There may be references to, again, because I'm doing the texts that are of uh, highly historical relevance, right? Indian partition or Telangana arms movement. So in there you may have to provide extra cushion to the contemporary reader, on to understand the situation, to understand what was exactly happening, what was this being referred to. So whether you do choose to do that in footnotes or uh, long introduction notes or glossary, whatever, but you need to give that extra context. Whereas fiction, for most part of the time, is full in itself. You may be lost here and there, some words or some things, some references, but overall the story carries you through. But non-fiction, if you are not getting what is being referred, as a reader you may be lost, and that is why putting in more context along with the text in nonfiction becomes almost inevitable. Yeah.
Okay, can you give us some reflections about AI and translations? Now, with the advent of AI, I'm sure there's a lot of debate about if AI can actually translate the literary texts. How do you see this AI intervention?
Okay. Only yesterday in one of the WhatsApp group there was this news item shared that in Tamil there was one book released, um, and there is one startup, I think, and I know that Vikram Sampath also started or invested in one AI related AI company that actually focuses on translating. And Mr. Vikram said that because my books are taking years and sometimes decades to come into Indian languages, I think something like this would be cool. Uh, but yeah, I'm not too sure if for Indian languages AI is that good yet. Uh, if it is able to get, I also remember there was one project, Sahapedia or something of by that name, which was focused on training and training models for Indian languages so that it can do translations. But these are still in their primary stages. So I'm not very convinced. It is harder for AI to get. It is basically doing prediction. All LLMs do is next word prediction, right? So for it to get to that probability, it needs to be feed in a lot of data, Indian language data, and then it is. We are not yet there, is what I feel. But that said, if we can get to a stage where these machines can actually work with Indian languages and can give us at least a decent first draft, I would be very happy. Because as I said earlier also, there is tons and tons of information that is only in English and not coming to Indian languages, not reaching. And I still strongly believe that uh, Telugu is still the most primary language for most people to consume content. And if we can bring in machine language, I mean machine translations into picture, then we can make content and knowledge accessible to at a wider, larger scale. So that is the hope, but how good these machines are, I have my doubts.
If I can probe you further as your role as an author,
Mm,
uh, you have proficiency in Kannada, Hindustani, Telugu,
mm,
and English,
mm.
uh, but you have written your original text only in Telugu as of now, and you did not write originally in English, even though you can, right? So why is that? Why you only choose to write in Telugu as a medium of original writing and English as a medium of the translated fiction?
Yeah, that again goes back to, I think, who I am as a person. I always, as a kid, I was subjected to this torture of not having to speak Telugu, though I was born and brought up in Hyderabad, which is the capital of these Telugu state then, and then the Telugu state. So I was always told that Telugu is something that won't take you far. Telugu is something that won't give you bread and butter. Like it won't put food on your plate. Therefore, and also this single narrative that you can be good only at one language. So if you are good at Telugu, then your English will be bad because all the inflections and influences of Telugu will spoil your diction in English. And so these were the narratives that were fed to us in school. So anytime, even like when we when suddenly say something bites you and you say amma abba, we used to get get beatings on the knuckles saying that no, no, don't talk in Telugu. So that I come from that kind of thing, and as I said, I almost forgot the language. I almost stopped recognizing the letters in the alphabet at one point. So that is why I wanted to keep going back to Telugu and write in Telugu. And and also and also that yeah, that became my primary creative expression. So that is why Telugu. I did write in English. Uh, Again, as you asked one question, the language in which I think in English. That is because all the learnings I had about literature, I did few courses in Coursera in its early days, that massive online MOOC that was there, right? So I did some courses there. Then I enrolled into Bangalore writers workshop to understand the craft, those things. And then there, because the medium was English, I would be judged or I would be accepted only based on English. I did attempt to write in English, but then I felt my stories felt more natural only in Telugu. So I came back to it. And both the books that I did into English, I did not jump at them and to taken the opportunity, because I was very hesitant, in the sense that my English mostly is transactional. It can be used to write emails or talk like this, but not actually write literary kind of prose. So I was hesitant, but I hope I did a decent job and people will like it with my English translation. But my primary commitment is to Telugu.
Now, tell us something. You said you attended these workshops to get your craft right and improve it. But can translation be taught?
Trans I think creative writing and translation both can be taught, and also should be taught. Uh, Again, so if I take example of creative writing, you get a story idea. Suppose you are writing a short fiction, you have seen something, you read something, or you were observing something, a idea comes to you, and then that develops. So nobody can teach that. Okay, so that part is something inherent and implicit to you, or something that you develop over the years on your own. But again, there is a translation happening. There is this beautiful story in your head now, but that has to come onto the paper through language, and that is one stage of translation, right? One act of translation. So when you are trying to convert what is there in your head and coming onto paper, so that part can be taught, is I think what kind of stories you can find in your surroundings, how can you connect the dots, all of those. Someone may not be able to make you sit in the classroom and do it as an exercise. But once you have a strong idea of what you want to write, but you are struggling to write, then that is where the creative writing courses can come into picture. Likewise, in translation also, um, I'm not saying either in creative writing or translation you need to be heavily theorized or get some formulas or some rule books which will make your life easy. But at least in translation, if we have these kind of workshops or discussions, then we will know some of the common problems, at least the problem statements and at least the concerns, and then we can together or individual at an individual way can find creative solutions to it. So I have learned, though I haven't like gotten any degree in translation as such, but I have learned a lot from all these master translators that we have during COVID time, because at that time everything was shut down. People were very generous, and even universities have opened their courses or their lectures and everything on internet, and people like me were able to watch them. So Dr. Arshia Sattar, Rakshanda Jalil, whom I think she is my inspiration and role model in terms of how to piece different um, literature together and make a point through translation. She does that beautifully, and it is her inspiration that made me bring Manto Sia Hashia in a different way than just translate what is there and put it. She helped me understand the art of curation, art of putting translation, individual translated pieces in a way that it can make a bigger point. So that, and as I said, Dr. Valamala Vishwanath did couple of workshops in Bangalore. She was very generous, and many other folks who discussed their problems and what the challenges they have faced, how they came across it. The perpetual debate of whether to use footnotes or not to use footnotes. So these kind of yeah, they were just sharing their knowledge in that sense, but they became like great learnings for me, master classes for me, and they helped a lot. And if today I'm able to put out work and also confidently talk about it, is because of these uh, quote unquote teachers giving me that confidence. So yes, I mean, whether we call it as courses or workshops or any other thing, I would say um, we all discussing and we all contributing to this overall discourse is really important, because again, as I said, translating in India is not a homogeneous process. So and it also changes from text to text, no? So I have done two works into English now, but both are polar opposites. I can't compare the process or the pain or the struggles or the joy out of these. They are at completely different. So that is why it is very important for us, all of us, to come together, discuss, if not anything, just rant about our problems sometimes, so that out of that we can get some solution. And more than that, a sense of solidarity, that we are all sharing this, we are all trying to belong in this way, in this beautiful way of translating text. Yeah.
Let's again take a step back and talk about your journey as a short story writer. In the very
Mm.
beginning of our conversation, you told how important a craft is short story, right? It's a very subtle craft. So take us through your journey of when you're writing a story. How did it begin, and what do you think? How do you write, and how did you see the end of that story? So that process.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting, and nobody has ever asked me that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, each story is in itself a journey. But I will take one story that is very close to my heart. I mean, I'm not saying that it is favorite or not favorite, not in that sense. But more like the story that gave me a confidence that I'm a short story writer. Okay, till then, for the longest time, I was calling myself only blogger, and anytime anyone says she's a writer, I used to correct them. No, no, no. But this story, I think, changed that for me. And okay, so then, yeah, there's this beautiful film called Patala Bhairavi. It is a 1950 film. It is written by one of my favorite movie writers, Pingali, Pingal Nagendra. So I watched this movie, I think, after a heartbreak, and I just wanted to switch off my mind and run through movies. So this was a classic I put on, and I was watching, and I hope it is, in my head, it was a folk adventure. So I was like waiting for a lot of sword fights, this, that, all of that, yeah, old, old classic stuff. But apparently the movie is full of love everywhere. It is every two scenes, prema, the word prema, which is love in Telugu, comes up. So I was little pissed off, and I was like, this also turns to be a love story, which I don't want at this point of time. So then I just was thinking about it, and and this thought occurred: what would be this story if the hero doesn't fall in love with the heroine? Would there be a story, or would the story like cease to exist? So that was the idea, and I pursued that idea for the longest time. And and then I like the more I pursued it, the more it started revealing itself to me. And then I figured out that this hero, the story remains the same. The expectations of each heroine, hero, and villain remains the same. But the hero refuses to fall in love with the heroine and walks out of the story. Now, what happens with this lady, this heroine, who is still yearning for the hero, and what happens to this villain who is also yearning for the hero in a sense that he wants to kill him or get killed by him. So what happens over here is what I tried to write, and to my surprise, it came out well. It is one of my well received stories, and also I tried to use Pingali's ideas, the original writers' ideas and words and characterization, but give it a complete twist. So it became in a way that the heroine is not so rigid about her role. Given new circumstances, she is open to explore new ways and new ideas about herself, whereas the villain is fixated on his role, that he should chase the hero or get killed by him and things like that. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a little weirdo in that sense, to get some crazy ideas and also to execute them. But yeah, I've interestingly, this like when I was watching that movie, rewatching that movie, I also felt Pingali made it very meta, which is not discussed much. He made it meta in the sense that the story is continuously reflecting on itself and saying, "Oh my God, what will happen now? Oh my God, my hero is stuck here. What will happen now?" So that kind of narrative was there in the original. So that gave me these ideas. Yeah.
But do you have some suggestions for the
Mm.
readers themselves, or even for the publication houses, through which they can forge towards developing the reading ecosystem in India?
Okay. Yeah. If only I knew the answer for it, because as a publisher, even I'm struggling with the question like how to reach more and more readers and how to make these stories not just the ones I write, but the ones I publish, and also with pustakam.net also the ones I read, or once we have read, we wanted to like amplify it as much as possible so that readers can take in. Right now, fortunately or unfortunately, social media is being the only major platform where writers, publishers can amplify their voices and reach to readers. Is what is happening. Uh, but again, to to compete with the algorithm, and the algorithm pushes certain kind of content more than somebody saying, okay, read this wonderful book. Um, so beating the algorithm would be difficult, and relying on it totally is also not practical, is what I think. So that is why spaces are very important. Bookshops, public libraries, even some of these wonderful souls, I haven't met them, but any of these people who are actually curating and bringing people together in Kaban Park, or the Kaban Reads, or I think in Hyderabad we have KBR Reads, and these kind of um, informal spaces where the love for the book can be expressed without the eye of the camera. So without being like forever being there on the internet, just come read for the joy of it, and live with that energy, and not really be bothered about how many likes did I get for this, how many shares did this go, all of that stuff. So I think we need more focused energies in bringing people together, and the books can now be wonderful resources of digital detox, because we are spending so much time day in and day out. Our work has become all digital and on screens, right? So physical books in that sense can go back. um, I strongly believe that alternate forms of physical books like ebooks and audiobooks are equally important. Not everybody has the luxury to open a book, sit down with chai and a warm blanket, and on a rainy day nearby the window. All of that is too much romanticism and doesn't happen in our lives much. It is very lucky if it happens here and there. What audiobooks enable, especially I am a lot in favor of audiobooks. I'm in great support of them, and I think they are very, very important in the sense that we don't always have the luxury to sit with a book and a warm cup of chai and while it is raining outside with a warm blanket. All of that is too much romanticism and not always happens. We are lucky if it happens once in a while. But audio books give us two distinct advantages. One, when the person has a headspace, but also has to attend something. I mean, the mind space is there to engage with the book, but they have to physically do something else. In that sense, audiobooks are really helpful. Go for a walk, jog, drive, even cleaning, just listen to the audiobooks. It kind of needs um, some adjustments, some ways, but there are books that that are wonderful when read, when heard in audiobooks. So that is one thing. And second, audiobooks are also very helpful for people who know the language but can't read it. I have so many Telugus who can follow the language, and I know so many non-Telugus who can follow the language because of Tollywood, Telugu movies, but they can't read the script. For them also, it is immensely helpful, and platforms like Storytel and Amazon have put out some books in Indian languages. Storytel, I think, was a big deal when it started because it brought in uh, so much content from the Indian languages, that it was amazing. So these kind of tools and technologies, and also, yeah, we, all of us who love reading, constantly finding ways and coming up with creative ideas like this Kaban Park thing, and then trying to be there for each other. And yeah, this again, this notion of reading is an isolated activity, writing is an isolated activity, therefore only introverts or people who don't mingle much do these things, which is to an extent may be true. I'm not getting into that debate, but what I would say is, if as a reader you belong to a good reading community, your your understanding of literature, your way of picking books can improve a lot. Likewise, if you are writing and if you are a writer and you can find writing communities, translation communities, all of these things immensely help, and it need not be such lonely journeys. If we can like bounce off ideas of each other, that will be great. Yeah, but we need to constantly creatively think and come up with these ideas. And one more final thing, especially if someone is working in Indian languages. Yeah, one more example about communities or spaces that are doing wonderful work is walking book fairs, Bhubaneswar. So those guys actually have a van in which they put the books and go to towns, cities, big, small villages, and then introduce books to readers. So that is also important. At LME also, we are trying to actually not limit our activities only to cities like Hyderabad or Vijayawada, but go to universities or go to high schools, conduct events there, bring some authors there so that the kids and the literary lovers can meet them. Yeah, things like that. We should not again restrict ourselves only to the cities or the urban elite spaces, but actually try to move as much as possible into the heartlands of India. Yeah.
Purnima, recently I have read a book on Telugu cinema and Telugu heroes. And that book essentially argued that Telugu readership was killed by the Telugu films, right? Because we have a film for everything, and that became a major source of entertainment, and because of which Telugu readership had come down for the literature. What are your reflections on this?
Okay, if someone really survives this long podcast and comes to this question, I think I will have some tough time on Facebook because people, at least Telugus, won't be very happy with my answer. See, this one argument that constantly is thrown at us, especially people in the literature, is that okay, because of all of the things that happened in 90s, the neoliberalization and all, content fled, broadcasting, all of these things. So therefore, Telugu readership has died. When I started writing in that 2000, 2010 time, so this constant, only one song was that Telugu chachipotundi. Like Telugu is dying. It's in ICU. It can't be a language like Telugu with such vibrant community. And yeah, at least as long as Tollywood is there, Telugu won't die in that sense. But no, whatever we have faced is not unique. I mean, all this Western content coming in, hogging space from readers and all of that, uh, just didn't happen to Telugus. No, it happened to everybody else in India also, and still Malayalam writers are like uh, selling books in lakhs and lakhs. So it doesn't come to one single factor. It's like in Telugu there is a saying called Karnudi Chawuki Savalaksha Karanalu, which says you can't pin down one reason why Karna died in Mahabharata. There will be like, if you start exploring and if you start reasoning, there are like a lack of reasons on why he has died. So likewise, anything that has gone quote unquote wrong in Telugu overall cultural space, socio-cultural space, necessarily Tollywood should not be blamed for that. Is what I think. It factors in many ways. Uh, for us, what happened is this. Um, the reading, I think, to an extent, was either seen as too much of an intellectual activity or too much of a casual thing. Okay, so we either read like too much politically informed, about the crisis around the world, or this and that, very heavy stuff that we read, or we read it like okay, read this book for like 1 2 hours and just throw it away, kind of thing. Somewhere the gap, I think, for Telugu readers to continue and persist with Telugu books is that um, knowledge in entertaining form, knowledge in in like nicely packed way did not reach to them, and that is why the gap, especially till the time Yandamuri and all other popular writers were writing, till that point, because again they also became such success because at that time there was this Intinti library, where some of the novels and these things used to go to different places in a city or in a village, and people used to pick the book, read, and like next week return that and get one. There was a subscription model. All of these things were in place, and that is why even I mean, writers like that were supremely popular. But after that, that whole ecosystem was killed. So I'm again and again going back to the same point that if people if you want to make people read, then you have to make books accessible to them, and make books accessible to them with minimal cost, and minimal effort. So even now, if a Telugu person in Hyderabad has to buy books and it is not online, then they have to like put 500 rupees for Uber, to and fro, go to that one particular bookshop, select that, come back, which is too much of a strain, right? Like, forget about everything. I'm a software engineer. I have this 1 week, and I can't do this 20 kilometers up and down for that one book, right? I want something that comes to me easily. So yeah, I would, I mean, movies, and I mean their impact, and Telugu's being a little more obsessed about their movies than other others, that is all different discussion. But for us to focus on literature, I think we have to go back to working out how we can make books accessible to common people, and how to make them curious about, okay, I want to read this book, and reading this book gives me this joy, this kick. How to get that? So that is what we need to discuss. Yeah.
Purnima, thank you so much. I think this is the longest episode for me till now, and we wish you all the more success as a writer, publisher, and a translator.
Thank you. I am not very sure if your listeners will persist for this long, but if you, dear gentle listener, if you have come till this point and if you have listened to all that we have shared and we have talked, thank you so much for your valuable time. I hope you found something worthy. My best wishes to Rishwant and Navigating India. I hope all of this is contributes to the importance of discourses around literature and translation. Thank you so much.
No, I see this episode as trying to be an archive of a conversation, and I think it will stay for a long time. A listener can pick it up anytime when they want to learn about somebody who is a writer, publisher, and translator. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.